She kissed a stranger out of revenge. I didn't expect him to be the beginning of a new story. Before we explore all the details of this incredible story, tell us where you're following us from and the time. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing, and let's embark on this journey together. The warehouse-turned-theater in Brooklyn smelled of fresh paint and desperation. Amelia Ray Monroe stood in the shadows of the backstage area, her fingers absently tracing the rough brick wall as she watched the celebration unfold before her. The independent theater company's winter showcase had just wrapped, and now the cast and crew mingled in that peculiar way theater people did, all dramatic gestures and forced laughter that echoed off the high ceilings. She adjusted the strap of her vintage slip dress, a thrifted treasure she'd paired with well-worn Chuck Taylors. Her thick curls were piled high in a messy bun, with a few rebellious coils framing her face. The dress's deep burgundy complemented her rich chocolate skin. But tonight she didn't feel beautiful. She felt like a prop, pushed to the periphery of her own life. Across the room, her ex-boyfriend Nathan performed his latest role, the apologetic cheater, with Madison, his new leading lady, hovering nearby. They'd been sleeping together for months, right under Amelia's nose, while she coordinated their costume changes and adjusted their lighting cues. Here, Tasha Green materialized beside her, pressing a cold glass of champagne into her hand. Her best friend's dark skin seemed to glow under the dim lighting, her signature colorful braids catching the light as she moved. "You look like you need this more than I do." "That obvious, huh?" Amelia took a long sip, the bubbles burning her throat. "Only to someone who's known you since college." Tasha's eyes narrowed as she watched Nathan across the room. "I still say we should have replaced his hair gel with super glue during the final performance." A laugh escaped Amelia's lips, genuine this time. "And risk compromising the show. You know I'd never." "Always the professional." Tasha bumped her shoulder affectionately. "But seriously, you don't have to be here. We could grab some ice cream, watch terrible reality TV." "I need to be here," Amelia insisted, though her heart raced at the thought of escape. "And I'm the assistant production manager. It's my job to make sure everything runs smoothly. I'm even the after party." A commotion near the back entrance drew their attention. Someone was struggling with what appeared to be a large wooden piece, probably for the next production. Amelia straightened, professional instincts kicking in. "I should help with that," she said, already moving forward. "The last thing we need is damaged set pieces." "Amelia," Tasha's warning tone followed her, but she was already weaving through the crowd. As she approached, the shape of a man emerged from behind the wooden panel, tall, broad-shouldered, with a well-groomed beard and kind eyes that caught the light. His grey Henley was dusted with sawdust, and his sleeves were rolled up to reveal strong forearms. "Can I help?" Amelia asked. Reaching for the other end of what she now saw was an intricately carved bench. "I've got it," he replied, his voice deep and gentle. "Just need to figure out where this goes. I'm Lucas, by the way. Lucas Brooks." "Amelia Monroe." She found herself studying his face, the way his blue-grey eyes crinkled slightly at the corners, the careful way he handled the furniture despite his obvious strength. "I'm the assistant production manager. This is for the Winter Garden, right?" "Yeah, commissioned piece." He adjusted his grip, and Amelia noticed a small tattoo on his wrist. "Was told to deliver it tonight, though this seems like a bad time." "Actually, it's perfect timing," Amelia said. "The champagne may be making her a bit bolder than usual. Everyone's distracted. We can get it stored without 20 different opinions on its placement." Lucas chuckled, a warm sound that seemed to resonate in her chest. "Lead the way, then." They maneuvered through the back hallway, away from the party's noise. Amelia was acutely aware of their synchronized movements, the way they naturally fell into step. When they reached the storage room, the tight space forced them closer together as they carefully set down the bench. "Beautiful workmanship," Amelia murmured, running her fingers along the smooth wood. "Did you do all this by hand?" "Every bit." Lucas watched her inspect his work, something unreadable in his expression. "It's my passion, finding the beauty in raw materials, bringing out what's already there." Their eyes met in the dim light of the storage room, and Amelia felt something shift in the air between them. Maybe it was the champagne, or the emotional exhaustion of the past few weeks, or simply the way he looked at her, like he was actually seeing her, not just looking through her. Without overthinking it, without letting her usual anxieties and hesitations take control, Amelia rose on her tiptoes and pressed her lips to his. For a moment, everything was still. Then Lucas's hand found her waist, gentle but steady, and he kissed her back with a tenderness that made her heart ache. When they broke apart, Amelia's hand was resting on his chest, feeling his heartbeat through the soft fabric of his shirt. The world seemed to have narrowed to just this moment, just them in this quiet room with the smell of wood shavings and possibility in the air. "I don't usually—" Lucas started. "Me neither," Amelia whispered. A crash from the party shattered the moment, followed by laughter and applause. Reality came rushing back, and Amelia stepped away, her cheeks warm. "I should get back," she said, smoothing her dress. "Thank you for the bench." Lucas nodded, that same unreadable expression on his face. "Thank you for the help, Amelia Monroe." She hurried back to the party, her lips still tingling, her mind already spinning this moment into something it probably wasn't. But when she glanced back from the doorway, Lucas was watching her go, and the look in his eyes made her wonder if maybe, just maybe, this impulsive moment could be the beginning of something real. Back at the party, Tasha took one look at her face and raised an eyebrow. "Okay, what happened in the last 10 minutes? You look different." Amelia touched her lips, still feeling the ghost of that kiss. I think I just changed my own story." Morning light filtered through the industrial windows of Amelia's Brooklyn apartment, casting long shadows across her bedroom floor. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying last night's kiss for the 100th time. Her fingers absently traced her lips as the sounds of the city drifted up from the street below. "You did what?" Tasha's voice crackled through the phone speaker, a mix of shock and delight. "Girls, when you said you were going to help with a delivery, I didn't think you meant delivering a whole kiss to a stranger," Amelia groaned, pulling her quilted comforter over her head. I know. It was completely unprofessional, and probably inappropriate, and definitely exactly what you needed," Tasha cut in. "After everything with Nathan, this is the universe giving you a sign. A tall, handsome woodworking sign." Rolling onto her side, Amelia watched dust motes dance in the sunbeam. Her apartment was small but carefully curated, vintage theater posters on exposed brick walls, potted plants thriving on every windowsill, and carefully organized production notes spread across her desk. It was her sanctuary, especially now that her workplace had become a minefield of awkward encounters. "It doesn't matter anyway," Amelia sighed. It was just a moment of temporary insanity. I'll probably never see him again. Unless you need more furniture," Tasha teased. "I have to go," Amelia said, catching sight of her clock. "Production meeting in an hour, and I still need to finish the budget reports for the winter garden." After a quick shower, Amelia stood before her closet, taking more care than usual with her outfit. She settled on high-waisted wide-leg pants in a rich olive green, paired with a cream silk blouse, and her favorite ankle boots. Her natural curls cooperated for once, falling in defined coils around her face. The subway ride to the theater was a blur of podcast voices in her ears and nervous energy in her chest. She'd almost convinced herself that last night was just a dream, until she walked into the theater and saw the bench. Dad sat innocently in the corner of the lobby, early morning light highlighting the intricate carving work. Amelia approached it slowly, her fingers hovering over the smooth wood. The craftsmanship was even more impressive in daylight. Delicate vines and leaves seemed to grow organically from the grain of the wood itself. "Beautiful piece, isn't it?" The voice behind her made her jump. It was Richard, the theater's technical director, a man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and reading glasses perpetually perched on his head. "Yes," Amelia managed, trying to sound professional. "The craftsman did excellent work." "Lucas Brooks," Richard nodded. "Been trying to get him to work with us for months. He usually sticks to private commissions, but something about this project caught his interest." Amelia's heart skipped at the mention of Lucas's name. "Oh, yeah? Saw his work at a friend's house and knew he'd be perfect for the winter garden. Speaking of which," Richard handed her a business card, "could you coordinate with him about the other pieces we need? I trust your eye for detail." The card was simple, just Lucas's name, phone number, and the words, "Custom Woodworking," in clean typography. Amelia stared at it, feeling the weight of possibility in the small rectangle of cardstock. "Sure," she said, slipping the card into her pocket. "I'll reach out." The production meeting that followed was torture. Amelia sat at the long table, pretending to focus on scheduling conflicts and budget constraints, while her mind kept wandering to blue-gray eyes and gentle hands. Nathan was there too, sitting next to Madison, both of them trying too hard to look professional and distant. "Amelia," The director's voice snapped her back to attention. "The set pieces for Act 2. You'll handle the coordination?" "Yes, of course." She pulled out her tablet, making quick notes. "I'll contact the craftsman today." After the meeting, Amelia escaped to her tiny office, really more of a converted storage closet, but it was her space. She pulled out Lucas's card again, running her thumb over the embossed letters. Taking a deep breath, she typed out a text. "Hi Lucas, this is Amelia Munro from the theatre. The production team would like to discuss additional pieces for the Winter Garden. Would you be available to meet this week?" She hit send before she could overthink it, then immediately dropped her phone like it was on fire. Turning to her computer, she tried to lose herself in spreadsheets and production schedules. 3 hours later, her phone buzzed. "Hello, Amelia Munro from the theatre. I'm free tomorrow afternoon. There's a coffee shop near my workshop in Red Hook. The Carpenter's Cup, 2 p.m. Amelia smiled at the formal tone, imagining him carefully composing the message. She replied quickly, "Perfect. See you then." "Still professional," she muttered to herself. "Just a business meeting." The rest of the day passed in a blur of tasks and avoided glances. During her lunch break, Amelia found herself in the lobby again, sitting on Lucas's bench. She ran her hands over the carved details, remembering the way his calloused fingers had felt against her waist. "You know?" Tasha's voice startled her from her reverie. Her friend was leaning against the doorframe, a knowing smile on her face. "For someone who claims it was just a moment of temporary insanity, you sure spend a lot of time with this bench." "I'm just appreciating the craftsmanship," Amelia defended weakly. Tasha sat beside her, bumping their shoulders together. "And I suppose the fact that you're meeting the craftsman tomorrow is purely professional. How did you—" "Richard mentioned it. Small theatre, remember?" Tasha's expression softened. "It's okay to want something for yourself, eh? It's okay to take a chance." Amelia leaned her head on her friend's shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of her coconut hair oil. "What if I'm reading too much into it? What if it was just a kiss? What if it wasn't?" Tasha countered. "What if this is the beginning of your own story, not just someone else's supporting character?" Later that night, as Amelia lay in bed listening to the city sounds below, she allowed herself to hope. Her fingers traced the edges of Lucas's business card on her nightstand, and she thought about the way he had looked at her in that storage room, like she was something worth seeing, worth knowing. Tomorrow she would be professional. She would discuss dimensions and deadlines, wood types and finishes. But tonight, in the quiet of her room, she could admit that maybe Tasha was right. Maybe it was time to step into the spotlight of her own life. Her phone lit up with one last text. "Looking forward to discussing the project, Lucas." Amelia smiled into her pillow, feeling like a teenager with a crush. But underneath the giddiness was something else, a quiet certainty that tomorrow might be the beginning of something real, something that, like Lucas's carvings, had been waiting to emerge from raw material all along. The Carpenter's Cup was exactly the kind of place Amelia would have expected Lucas to choose. Housed in an old warehouse in Red Hook, the coffee shop balanced industrial charm with handcrafted warmth. Exposed pipes crisscrossed the ceiling, while handmade wooden tables dotted the concrete floor. The smell of fresh coffee mingled with the salty breeze from the nearby harbor. Amelia arrived 15 minutes early, her production binder clutched to her chest like armor. She'd changed outfits 3 times before settling on a flowing midi dress in deep forest green, patterned with tiny golden leaves. Her curls were loose today, falling past her shoulders in carefully defined spirals. "You're early," a familiar, deep voice said behind her. Amelia turned to find Lucas standing there, looking somehow both exactly as she remembered and completely new in the afternoon light. He wore dark jeans and a chambray shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing that same delicate tattoo on his wrist. There was a smudge of sawdust on his collar, and his blue-grey eyes held a hint of nervousness that made her own anxiety ease slightly. "Professional habit," she managed to say. "Theatre people live and die by call times." His smile was soft. "Good thing I got here even earlier then." He led her to a corner table, one she noticed was particularly beautiful, with an intricate inlay pattern on its surface. As they sat down, Lucas ran his hand along the edge almost unconsciously. "Did you make this one too?" Amelia asked. "Most of the furniture here," he admitted. "The owner, Michael, was my first real client when I started out. Now I use the workshop space behind the building." A barista approached, a young woman with vibrant red hair and multiple ear piercings. "The usual, Lucas? And for your friend?" Oat milk latte, please, Amelia said, trying not to read too much into the way Lucas was apparently a regular here, with a usual order and everything. Once they were alone again, an awkward silence fell. Amelia opened her binder, pulling out sketches and specifications, while Lucas watched her with that same quiet intensity she remembered from the storage room. "So," she began, her professional voice taking over, "for the winter garden, we need several key pieces." "About the other night," Lucas interrupted softly, Amelia's hands stilled on her papers. "We don't have to—" "I'd like to," he said, "if that's okay." She looked up then, meeting his eyes. The afternoon sun streaming through the windows caught the lighter flecks in his irises, making them look almost silver. "I don't usually kiss strangers," she said finally. "I don't usually get kissed by strangers," he countered, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "But I'm glad you did." The barista returned with their drinks, an oat milk latte for Amelia and, she noticed, a simple black coffee for Lucas. The interruption gave her a moment to collect her thoughts, to steady her racing heart. "I was having a rough night," she explained, tracing the rim of her cup. "My ex, he works in the company. He'd been cheating on me with another actor, and everyone knew except me. I guess I wanted to do something unexpected, something that wasn't about being careful or professional or perfect." Lucas listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "And now?" Amelia took a sip of her latte to buy time. "Now I'm sitting here trying to be professional, but all I can think about is how your hands felt, and how you smelled like coffee and wood shavings, and how I've never done anything like that before, but it felt right." Lucas finished when she trailed off. "It felt right." They sat in silence for a moment, the busy sounds of the coffee shop fading into background noise. Finally, Lucas reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. "So what if," he said carefully, "we tried something? Not just a moment in a storage room, but something real. We could start with dinner." Amelia looked at their almost touching hands, his strong and calloused, hers with tiny paint stains from yesterday's set touch-ups. "I'm kind of a mess right now," she admitted. "The whole X situation, plus work, is crazy with the new production." "I'm good with mess," Lucas said simply. "I work with raw materials all day. The rough edges are where the beauty hides." A laugh bubbled up from her chest, surprising them both. "Did you just compare me to unfinished wood?" His eyes crinkled with amusement. "Too much." "No," she said softly. "It was perfect." They spent the next hour actually discussing the theatre pieces, but everything felt different now. When Lucas sketched design ideas, his free hand would brush against hers. When Amelia explained the play's themes, he watched her with undisguised fascination. They discovered shared loves, rainy Sundays, hole-in-the-wall restaurants, vintage furniture markets, and entertaining differences. He was a morning person. She lived for late nights. He cooked eBay. She survived on takeout and coffee. "So," Lucas said as they finished their second round of drinks, "dinner, I know a place in Cobble Hill. Small, family-owned Italian restaurant. The owner's mother makes the pasta by hand every morning." Amelia felt warmth spread through her chest. "When? Tonight?" When she hesitated, he added, "Unless that's too soon." "No," she said quickly. "Tonight is perfect. I just need to change and—" "You look beautiful," Lucas interrupted, then ducked his head slightly, as if surprised by his own boldness. "But whatever makes you comfortable." As they exchanged numbers and finalized plans, Amelia felt something settling in her chest, a quiet certainty that this was more than just a rebound or a distraction. This felt like the beginning of a story she actually wanted to be part of. Outside the coffee shop, they lingered on the sidewalk, neither quite ready to leave. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the cobblestones, and a breeze carried the mixed scents of coffee and sea air. "I can give you a tour of the workshop," Lucas offered suddenly, "if you want to see where the pieces will be made." Amelia knew she should get back to the theatre. She had schedules to update, emails to send, 1,000 little fires to put out. But looking at Lucas in the golden light, sawdust still clinging to his collar, she found herself nodding. "Show me," she said. He led her around the back of the building to a heavy wooden door. As he pulled it open, the rich smell of fresh-cut wood enveloped them. Amelia stepped into Lucas's world, and something inside her whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly where she was meant to be. The workshop told the story of who Lucas was better than words ever could. Tools hung in careful order on the walls, wood in various stages of transformation filled neat racks, and afternoon light streamed through high windows, turning dust motes into falling stars. In the center of it all stood a half-finished piece, a delicate side table with spiraling legs that seemed to defy gravity. "This is amazing," Amelia breathed, running her fingers along a smooth piece of maple. Lucas watched her explore with that same quiet intensity she was beginning to recognize. "It's not much, but it's mine. Every piece tells a story." "And what story will our pieces tell?" she asked, meaning the theater furniture, but hearing the double meaning in her own words. He stepped closer, his presence solid and warm behind her. "I guess we'll have to wait and see." When their eyes met this time, there was no impulsivity, no champagne courage, just two people standing in a shaft of sunlight, surrounded by the possibility of something beautiful being carved from raw material. This time, when they kissed, it felt like coming home. The streets of Cobble Hill were alive with early evening energy as Amelia walked from the subway station. Her phone buzzed with another text from Tasha, the fifth in the last hour. "Just remember to actually eat the food this time. Your last first date, you were so nervous you just pushed pasta around your plate for 2 hours." Amelia smiled, typing back, "That's because my last first date was with an actor who spent those 2 hours talking about himself. Something tells me Lucas is different." The restaurant was tucked away on a quiet corner, its warm light spilling onto the sidewalk through windows framed by climbing ivy. Lucas was already waiting outside, and Amelia's steps faltered slightly at the sight of him. He'd changed into dark slacks and a navy button-down that made his eyes look stormy. His beard was freshly trimmed, and his hair was still slightly damp, curling at the ends. "Hi," she said softly, suddenly shy despite their earlier kisses. Lucas's eyes traveled over her appreciatively. She'd chosen a deep purple wrap dress that complemented her skin tone, paired with delicate gold jewelry and low heels. Her curls were arranged in a cascade over one shoulder. "You're beautiful," he said simply, no artifice in his voice. Inside, the restaurant was exactly as Lucas had described, intimate and welcoming, with exposed brick walls and wooden tables that Amelia now suspected might be his work. An elderly woman with silver hair greeted Lucas by name, kissing both his cheeks before leading them to a corner table. "That's Maria," Lucas explained as they sat down. "She's owned this place for 40 years. I restored all their original tables when I was just starting out." "Is there anywhere in Brooklyn you haven't left your mark?" Amelia teased, running her fingers along the table's edge. "A few places," he smiled. "But I'm working on it." The conversation flowed as easily as the wine Maria insisted on bringing them, a rich red that tasted of berries and possibility. They talked about their families, his mother in Connecticut, her parents in Virginia, their dreams, his own furniture line someday, her ambitions to direct, and the winding paths that led them to this moment. "So why woodworking?" Amelia asked as their appetizers arrived, burrata that melted on the tongue and bread still warm from the oven. Lucas considered the question, taking a sip of wine. "I was kind of a lost kid, couldn't sit still in class, couldn't focus on books. But in my grandfather's workshop, everything made sense. The wood told me what it wanted to be. I just had to listen." "That's how I feel about theater," Amelia said. "Everyone thinks it's about pretending, but it's really about truth, finding it, shaping it, sharing it." Their eyes met across the table, and something electric passed between them. Lucas reached across, his fingers intertwining with hers. "Tell me something true," he said softly. Amelia felt the wine warming her blood, giving her courage. "I'm scared of how much I already like you." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "Tell me something else true. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to have a secret girlfriend or a drinking problem or a collection of creepy dolls." Lucas laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "No girlfriend, no drinking problem. Though I do have one wooden puppet I made in high school." "I knew it," Amelia grinned. "Your turn. Tell me something true. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that night in the storage room." His voice was low, intimate. "I've started 3 pieces since then, and they all somehow end up having curves that remind me of the way you moved when you kissed me." Heat bloomed in Amelia's cheeks, but she didn't look away. "Keep going. I'm not good with words like your theater people. I'm better with actions, with making things real enough to touch." His fingers tightened slightly around hers. "But I want to learn your language. I want to know what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night, what stories you need to tell." Maria appeared with their main courses, handmade pasta for Amelia, osso buco for Lucas, breaking the moment's intensity but not its intimacy. As they ate, they shared bites from each other's plates, their legs touching under the table. "My ex," Amelia said suddenly, putting down her fork. He always made me feel like I was too much, too emotional, too invested in my work, too everything. Lucas's eyes were steady on hers, and now I'm sitting here with someone who makes me feel like maybe I'm exactly enough. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of good food, better conversation, and moments of charged silence that promised more. When the bill came, Lucas insisted on paying, but promised Amelia could get the next one, a casual assumption of future dates that made her heart skip. Outside, the spring evening had turned cool. Without hesitation, Lucas shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The fabric was warm from his body, and it smelled like him. Wood shavings and clean soap and something uniquely Lucas. "Let me walk you home," he said. They took the long way, through quiet residential streets where brownstones wore their garden boxes like jewelry. Their hands found each other naturally, fingers interlocking as if they'd done this 100 times before. "Tell me something else true," Amelia said as they approached her building. Lucas stopped walking, turning to face her. In the glow of the streetlights, his eyes were intense. "I'm falling for you, and it should scare me. How fast this is happening, how real it feels. But instead, it feels like something I've been waiting for without knowing it. Like when I look at a piece of wood and can already see what it wants to become." Amelia stepped closer, her free hand coming up to rest on his chest. She could feel his heart beating steady and strong beneath her palm. "Keep going. I want to take this slow," he said, his voice rough. "Do it right. But God, Amelia, when you look at me like that." She rose on her tiptoes, bringing their faces close together. "Like what?" "Like you see me," he breathed. "Really see me." This kiss was different from their others. Slower, deeper, full of promise and possibility. Lucas's hands framed her face with infinite tenderness, while Amelia's fingers curled into his shirt, holding him close. When they finally parted, they were both breathing heavily. Lucas rested his forehead against hers, his thumbs stroking her cheeks. "Tell me something true," he whispered. Amelia smiled, her heart full and fearless. "I think this is the beginning of my favorite story." Later, after more kisses and reluctant goodbyes, Amelia stood in her apartment, still wearing Lucas's jacket. Her phone lit up with a text from him. "Made it home. Already missing you. Is that too much?" She hugged the jacket closer, breathing in his scent, and typed back, "No, it's exactly enough." As she got ready for bed, Amelia caught sight of herself in the mirror, cheeks flushed, eyes bright, lips curved in an uncontrollable smile. For the first time in a long time, she didn't see someone's ex, or the reliable assistant stage manager, or the girl who wasn't quite enough. She saw herself, and she looked beautiful. 2 weeks into their relationship, Amelia found herself practically living in Lucas's workshop. She'd set up a makeshift office in the corner, her laptop and production binders sharing space with his wood samples and design sketches. The arrangement made sense. She could oversee the furniture production for The Winter Garden, while stealing glances at Lucas as he worked. "You've got sawdust in your hair again," Lucas said, coming up behind her chair. His hands, warm and slightly rough, brushed through her curls, sending shivers down her spine. "What occupational hazard of dating a woodworker?" she replied, leaning back into his touch. "Though my stage crew keeps asking why I'm suddenly covered in wood shavings. Tell them you're method producing, really getting into the Winter Garden theme." Amelia laughed, but it was cut short by her phone buzzing again. The theatre's director had been calling all morning, each message more urgent than the last. "You should answer it," Lucas said softly, his hands moving to massage her shoulders. She sighed, picking up the phone. Amelia Monroe speaking. "Where are you?" The director's voice was tight with stress. "We have a crisis. Nathan just dropped out of the show. Something about a TV pilot. We need to completely restructure the rehearsal schedule, and half the props need to be modified for his replacement." Amelia was already gathering her things, producer mode kicking in. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Make it 20, she ended the call, turning to Lucas with apology in her eyes. "I have to go," he finished, pressing a quick kiss to her forehead. "I know. The show must go on." "I'll make it up to you," she promised, already halfway to the door. "Dinner tonight?" "Can't tonight. Meeting with a client in Manhattan. Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," she agreed, blowing him a kiss before rushing out. The theater was chaos when she arrived. The director was pacing the stage. Madison was crying in the corner. Apparently Nathan hadn't just left the show, he'd left her too. and the rest of the cast was huddled in small groups, whispering and shooting worried glances at each other. "Thank God you're here," Tasha said, appearing at her side. "They're talking about pushing back opening night." Amelia straightened her spine, sliding into problem-solving mode. "Not happening. Get me the understudy's measurements and availability. I'll call the costume department." Hours blurred together as Amelia orchestrated the show's salvation. She reworked schedules, soothed egos, and somehow managed to turn Nathan's departure into an opportunity rather than a disaster. By the time she finished, the streetlights were on, and her phone had 3 missed calls from Lucas. She called him back while walking to the subway, her heels clicking on the pavement. "Hey," his voice was warm through the speaker. "Busy day. The busiest. How was your client meeting?" "Good. They want a whole dining set. Table, chairs, sideboard. It's a big commission." "Lucas, that's amazing." Her exhaustion lifted slightly at his news. "We should celebrate. Tomorrow," he reminded her. "Though, I could come over later tonight. I miss you." The words made her heart flutter, even as anxiety crept in. "My place is a disaster. I haven't been home enough to clean, and there are scripts everywhere." "Amelia," he interrupted gently, "I don't care about mess. Remember, raw materials?" She smiled despite herself. "Okay, come over. I'll order Thai food." An hour later, Amelia was frantically trying to make her apartment presentable when a knock came at the door. She opened it to find Lucas holding a bottle of wine and wearing that soft smile that made her knees weak. "Hi," she breathed. Instead of answering, he stepped forward and kissed her, the kind of kiss that made everything else fade away. When they parted, Amelia noticed he had something tucked under his arm. "What's that?" Lucas pulled out a small wooden box, intricately carved with intertwining vines. "Made this for you, for your desk at the theater. Thought you could use something beautiful in all that chaos." Amelia took the box, running her fingers over the detailed work. "When did you have time to make this?" "I work on it during breaks, when you're not in the shop." He looked almost shy. "It helps, having something of you to focus on when you're not there." Emotion welled up in her throat. No one had ever made her something before, not like this. Not with such care and thought, and her phone buzzed again. The director's name flashed on the screen. Lucas saw it too. "You should answer it." "No," Amelia said firmly, putting the phone face down. "Right now, I just want to be here. With you." They settled on her couch with Thai food and wine, Amelia tucked against Lucas's side as she told him about the day's drama. His fingers played with her curls as he listened, occasionally pressing kisses to her temple. "I'm sorry I'm so busy," she said finally. "The show opens in 3 weeks, and with Nathan leaving—" "Hey," Lucas turned her face toward his. "I understand busy. I have deadlines too, remember? But you still make time. You make me things. I make time because I want to. Because it matters." His eyes were serious. "You don't have to apologize for doing your job well." Amelia shifted to straddle his lap, her hands framing his face. "Tell me something true." It had become their ritual, these moments of raw honesty between them. Lucas's hands settled on her hips, anchoring her. "I'm falling in love with you," he said simply, "and it terrifies me how much I want this to work." Her breath caught. They hadn't said those words yet, though they'd been dancing around them. "Tell me something else true," she whispered. "I worry sometimes," he admitted, "that your world is too big for mine, that all the excitement and drama and passion of theater will make my quiet workshop seem boring." "Lucas," she kissed him softly, "your workshop is the most peaceful place I know. It's where I can breathe, where I can just be me, not the person everyone at the theater needs me to be." His hands tightened on her hips. "Tell me something true." "I'm falling in love with you too," she said, "and it doesn't terrify me at all. It feels like the surest thing I've ever known." Later, much later, they lay tangled in her sheets, the city lights casting patterns on the ceiling. Lucas traced lazy circles on her bare shoulder, while Amelia listened to his heartbeat. "Move in with me," he said suddenly. Amelia propped herself up to look at him. "What?" "Not right away," he clarified. "But soon. My place is bigger, closer to both our works. And I want to build a life with you, Amelia. A real one, with furniture I make for us and spaces we create together." She should have felt scared. It was too fast, too soon, too much. But looking at Lucas in the dim light, seeing the hope and love in his eyes, all she felt was right. "Okay," she said. "Okay?" "Yes." She kissed him softly. Let's build something beautiful together. Her phone buzzed again on the nightstand, but this time, Amelia didn't even hear it. She was too busy writing a new story, one where work and love didn't have to be opposing forces, one where she could be both the reliable stage manager and the woman who falls in love with a quiet man who sees beauty in raw materials, one where she finally gets to be the main character in her own life. The crash of splintering wood echoed through Lucas's workshop, followed by a string of muffled curses. Amelia looked up from her laptop just in time to see him standing over the remains of what should have been the show's centerpiece, an ornate garden archway now broken beyond repair. "Lucas?" She approached carefully, noting the tension in his shoulders, the white-knuckled grip he had on his tools. "The joint wasn't right," he said through gritted teeth. "The whole structure was off. 2 weeks of work, wasted. 2 weeks. Exactly how long they had until opening night." Amelia felt anxiety curl in her stomach, but kept her voice steady. "We can fix this, maybe if we—" "We?" Lucas turned to face her, his eyes stormy. "There is no we in this, Amelia. I'm the one who has to rebuild it. I'm the one who failed." The word failed hung heavy in the air between them. Amelia reached for him, but he stepped back, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I need some air," he muttered, heading for the door. "Lucas, wait." But he was already gone, leaving Amelia alone in the workshop with the broken pieces of wood and the weight of unspoken words. Her phone buzzed. Tasha calling. "Please tell me the archway is ready for technical rehearsals tomorrow." Amelia stared at the splintered remains. "We might have a slight problem. Slight as in fixable, or slight as in the director's going to have an aneurysm. I don't know yet." Amelia sank onto a nearby stool, feeling the pressure of everything crushing down on her. Lucas just walked out. "I've never seen him like this." Tasha was quiet for a moment. "Maybe it's not just about the archway." "What do you mean?" You practically live in his workshop now. Every surface has your scripts, your coffee cups, your presents. And yeah, he asked you to move in, but what? But maybe he's feeling the pressure too. The theater world isn't exactly subtle. We're loud and dramatic and always in crisis mode. His workshop used to be his sanctuary. The words hit Amelia like a physical blow. She looked around the space. Really looked. Her production binders were sprawled across his design table. Her emergency makeup kit sat next to his wood stains. Her theater chaos had slowly invaded every corner of his ordered world. "I should go find him," she said, standing up. "No," Tasha said firmly. "Give him space. Give yourself space." "When's the last time you slept in your own apartment?" Amelia couldn't remember. "Go home," Tasha continued. "Take a bath. Eat something that isn't workshop coffee and protein bars. The archway will still be broken tomorrow." Following Tasha's advice felt wrong, but Amelia knew she was right. She gathered her things slowly, each item a reminder of how completely she'd merged their worlds without really thinking about the consequences. Her apartment felt strange when she finally got home, both familiar and foreign. She'd been spending so much time at Lucas's workshop or the theater that she'd forgotten what her own space felt like. The wooden box he'd made her sat on her coffee table, and suddenly she was crying, big, messy tears that had probably been building for weeks. She cried for the broken archway, for Lucas's pain, for her own fear of messing up the best thing that had ever happened to her. Her phone lit up with a text from Lucas. "I'm sorry for walking out." She stared at the message, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Finally, she wrote back, "I'm sorry too, for everything. Can we talk? Come over. Actually, can you come here? I think maybe we need neutral ground." 20 minutes later, a knock at her door made her heart jump. She opened it to find Lucas looking as exhausted as she felt, his hair messy like he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. "Hi," she said softly. Without a word, he stepped forward and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight against his chest. Amelia breathed in his familiar scent, wood and soap and home, and felt some of her anxiety ease. "I'm sorry," he murmured into her hair. "I shouldn't have walked out like that." "I'm sorry too." She pulled back to look at him. "I've been taking over your space, your time, everything." Lucas led them to the couch, keeping one of her hands in his. "Tell me something true," he said, their ritual bringing comfort even now. "I'm scared," Amelia admitted. "Scared that I'm too much, that my world is too chaotic for yours, that I'll end up driving you away like I drove Nathan." "Stop!" Lucas's voice was firm. "You didn't drive anyone away. Nathan left because he's selfish. That's not you. But today, in the workshop, today I failed. Not because of you, but because I put too much pressure on myself. This show, these pieces, I wanted them to be perfect, for you. Amelia touched his face gently. Tell me something else true. I love having you in my workshop, he said. Even with your scripts everywhere and your constant phone calls and the way you talk to yourself when you're problem solving. But sometimes I miss the quiet, the solitude. It's how I've always worked best. He caught her hand, kissing her palm. But I miss you more when you're not there. We need balance, Amelia realized. I need to give you space to work, to be alone when you need it. And I need to remember that I have my own space too. And I need to remember that your chaos isn't something to fix. It's part of who you are, part of why I love you. The words slipped out naturally, like they'd been waiting to be said. Amelia's breath caught. You love me. Lucas smiled, that soft smile that had first captured her heart. Of course I do. How could I not? She kissed him then, pouring everything she couldn't say into the press of her lips against his. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his. The archway, she said finally. What are we going to do? We, Lucas emphasized the word, are going to rebuild it, better than before. But first, he pulled away slightly, looking around her apartment. When's the last time you actually lived here? Amelia laughed, despite herself. Tasha asked me the same thing. Smart woman. He stood up, pulling her with him. So here's what we're going to do. Tonight, we're going to order pizza, drink wine, and remember what it's like to just be us. No theater crisis, no broken furniture. Just us. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we face the world again. Together. He wrapped his arms around her waist, but with boundaries. You keep some of your chaos at the theater. I keep some of my quiet in the workshop, and we make space for both in whatever home we build together. Amelia felt tears threatening again, but these were different, lighter, hopeful. Tell me something true. I love you, Lucas said simply. Chaos and all. I love you too, she whispered. Quiet and all. Later, as they lay tangled on her couch, empty pizza box on the coffee table and soft music playing in the background, Amelia realized something. The broken archway wasn't a sign of failure. It was an opportunity to build something stronger. Just like them, it would be remade, better for having been broken and carefully put back together. Her phone buzzed with another theater crisis, but this time, she let it go to voicemail. Tonight was for them. Tomorrow they would face the chaos together, stronger for having found their balance. After all, the most beautiful things often come from knowing when to push and when to let go, when to speak and when to stay quiet, when to hold on and when to give space, just like working with wood, just like falling in love. The rebuilt archway stood in Lucas's workshop, more beautiful than its predecessor. Early morning light streamed through the windows, catching on the intricate carvings that seemed to flow like water through the wood. Amelia stood before it, coffee cup in hand, admiring how the new design somehow captured both their essences, her dramatic flair in the sweeping curves, his quiet strength in the solid foundation. You're here early, Lucas said, coming up behind her. Here, instead of wrapping his arms around her waist as he usually would, he simply stood beside her, respecting the new boundaries they'd established. Couldn't sleep, she admitted. Opening night is in 10 days. The archway will be ready, he assured her. I promise. She turned to look at him, taking in the shadows under his eyes that matched her own. Have you slept at all? A few hours. Had some ideas I needed to work out. He gestured to his sketchbook, open on his workbench. But I'm better today, clearer. The past week had been an exercise in finding balance. Amelia had moved most of her work back to the theater, keeping only essential coordination tasks in the workshop. She'd even started sleeping at her own apartment 3 nights a week, though she missed him terribly on those nights. "The coffee's fresh," she offered, nodding toward the workshop's small kitchenette. "I didn't want to wake you earlier." "Thanks." He poured himself a cup, then settled on his work stool. "How's the new lead doing?" "Daniel?" Amelia smiled. "He's actually perfect for the role. Different from Nathan, but in a good way. More genuine. Like the difference between veneer and solid wood," Lucas mused. "Exactly." She loved how he could translate everything into his own language. "The whole cast seems more relaxed now. Even Madison's doing better." Lucas nodded, then hesitated before asking, "Will you stay for a while? I'd like your opinion on something, but I need to work on it first." The old Amelia would have pulled up a chair and settled in for the day. The new Amelia checked her schedule on her phone. "I can stay for an hour. I have a production meeting at 10. "Perfect." He smiled, that soft smile that still made her heart flutter. "That's all I need." She watched him work from a respectful distance, admiring how his strong hands could be so gentle with the wood. He was adding final details to the archway, delicate leaves and vines that seemed to grow organically from the structure. Her phone buzzed with texts from Tasha about costume fittings, but Amelia found she could let them wait. This moment, watching Lucas create something beautiful, hearing the soft sounds of his tools, feeling the morning sun warm on her skin, was worth protecting. "Okay," he said finally, stepping back. "Come look." Amelia approached the archway, gasping when she saw what he'd added. Hidden among the vines and leaves were tiny details that told their story. A coffee cup, a theater mask, a small heart. "Lucas," she breathed, touching one of the carvings gently. "It's perfect. Not too much." "No." She turned to him, eyes shining. "It's exactly enough." He pulled her close then, his hands still dusty with sawdust, as they cupped her face. When he kissed her, she tasted coffee and promise and possibility. "I should go," she whispered against his lips. "Production meeting." "Go," he said, stepping back. "I'll see you tonight." "Actually," she bit her lip, "I think I need a theater night. Final costume fittings are running late, and I have a million details to coordinate." "Hey," he touched her chin gently. "You don't have to explain. Do what you need to do. I'll be here." The simple acceptance in his voice made her love him even more. "Tell me something true," she said, their ritual feeling especially important in this moment. "I'm happier when you're here," he said honestly, "but I'm learning to be okay when you're not, because I know you'll come back." "Always," she promised. "Tell me something else true. I'm proud of us, for figuring this out, for not letting that broken archway break us." Amelia kissed him again, quick but deep. "One more truth. I love you," he said simply. "Now go run your theater." At the theater, chaos reigned as usual. Daniel was struggling with a particularly emotional scene. The costume department was having a crisis over fabric shortages, and the lighting designer had the flu. But Amelia found she could handle it all with a new sense of calm, knowing she had a quiet workshop and a steady love to return to. "You seem different," Tasha commented during their lunch break. "More centered." "Lucas and I figured some things out," Amelia explained, picking at her salad. "They're about space and balance and how love doesn't have to mean losing yourself," she smiled. "He's teaching me that quiet can be as powerful as noise." Tasha studied her friend's face. "Tell me something true." Amelia laughed at hearing their ritual from someone else. "I'm happy. Really. Genuinely happy. Even with opening night breathing down our necks and a million things that could go wrong. Because of the woodworker. Because of who I am when I'm with him and who I am when I'm not." Amelia leaned back in her chair. "He makes me feel like I don't have to choose between being the competent stage manager and being the woman who's crazy in love. I can be both. And the moving in together thing. We're taking it slow. Well, slower." Amelia grinned. "Looking at places next month. He wants to make all the furniture himself." "Of course he does." Tasha's smile was fond. "You know what this means, right?" "What?" "You're living your own love story now, not just managing everyone else's." The truth of those words hit Amelia hard. She'd spent so long in the wings, making sure other people's stories ran smoothly, that she'd almost forgotten she deserved her own spotlight. That evening, after the costume fittings finally wrapped and the new lighting designer was briefed, Amelia found herself drawn to the workshop despite her plans for a theater night. She didn't go in. Respecting Lucas's space was important, but she stood outside for a moment, watching through the windows as he worked. He was beautiful in the fading light, all focused intensity and careful movements. As if sensing her presence, he looked up, their eyes meeting through the glass. He smiled but didn't beckon her in, understanding that sometimes love meant watching from a distance. Amelia blew him a kiss and turned away, heading to her own apartment for a night of script revisions and bubble baths. But she carried the image of him with her, steady, strong, sure, her quiet harbor in life's storms. Her phone buzzed with a text from him. "The archway missed you today, but it understands you have a theater to run." She smiled, typing back, "Tell me something true." His response came quickly. "I'm carving our future into everything I make. Every piece has a little bit of you in it now. One more truth? Come over tomorrow. The archway has a surprise for you." Amelia hugged her phone to her chest, feeling like a teenager with her first love. But this wasn't young love. This was deeper, stronger, built on understanding and compromise and the willingness to work through broken things together. "Tell you something true," she texted back. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, even when I'm not with you. His response warmed her heart. That's what love is supposed to feel like. Not a cage, but a foundation. Now go run your world. My quiet will be here when you need it. Amelia settled into her bubble bath, scripts balanced on a bath tray, and felt completely, utterly at peace. Tomorrow she would see Lucas's surprise. Tomorrow she would face more theatre crises. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges and joys. But tonight she was simply Amelia, the woman who loved both spotlights and shadows, both drama and peace, both the chaos of theatre and the quiet of a workshop. And that, she was learning, was exactly enough. 3 days before opening night, everything fell apart. The moment Amelia walked into the theatre for final technical rehearsals, she knew something was wrong. The energy was off. That distinct, heavy feeling that meant disaster was brewing. She found Tasha standing center stage, staring up at the lighting grid with an expression of barely contained panic. Tell me it's not as bad as it looks, Amelia said, already knowing the answer. The grid's main control board is fried. Tasha's voice was tight. Half the lights aren't responding, and the other half are stuck on full brightness. The replacement part won't arrive until next week. Amelia felt her chest tighten but kept her voice steady. Options. We can try to rig a temporary solution, but Tasha was cut off by a tremendous crash from backstage, followed by shouting. They ran toward the sound, finding chaos in the wings. 2 stagehands stood frozen, staring at the wreckage of what had been one of Lucas's beautiful benches. In their attempt to move it, they'd somehow managed to drop it down a short flight of stairs. I'm so sorry, one of them stammered. We were trying to position it for the garden scene, but it was heavier than we expected. Amelia stared at the splintered wood, remembering how many hours Lucas had spent perfecting those curves. Her phone felt heavy in her pocket. She'd have to call him, have to tell him. Amelia, the director's voice cut through her thoughts. We need you in the dressing rooms. Now. The next hour was a blur of crisis management. Daniel, their lead actor, had developed laryngitis. The understudies were both out with food poisoning from a cast dinner the night before. The costume department was in tears over a ripped dress, and someone had spilled coffee all over the prompt book containing all of Amelia's carefully notated cues. By noon, Amelia found herself sitting alone in her tiny office, head in her hands. Her phone buzzed, Lucas calling. She took a deep breath before answering. Hey, she said softly. Tasha texted me about the bench. His voice was gentle, concerned. Are you okay? The simple question, the care behind it, almost broke her. No, she admitted. Nothing's okay. Everything's falling apart, and I don't know how to fix it all, and I'm coming over. Lucas, no, you have your own deadlines, and the workshop will still be there later. His tone left no room for argument. I'm bringing lunch. Real food, not those protein bars you've been surviving on. An hour later, Lucas arrived with containers of homemade soup and fresh bread from Maria's restaurant. He'd also brought his toolkit and several pieces of wood. The bench can be fixed, he said, setting up a temporary workspace in the corner of the stage. First, it won't be exactly the same, but sometimes the mended pieces end up stronger than the originals. Amelia watched him work while eating the soup he'd insisted on. His presence alone seemed to calm the theatre's frantic energy. Even the director stopped pacing long enough to admire Lucas's methodical approach to repair. Tell me something true, Amelia said quietly, sitting beside him as he worked. I've been sketching designs for our future home, he admitted, hands never stopping their careful movements. A reading nook for your scripts, a workshop space where you can watch me work without sawdust in your hair, a kitchen big enough for both my morning routine and your late-night coffee addiction. Warmth bloomed in her chest, pushing back some of the day's stress. Tell me more. Built-in bookshelves for all your theatre books, a window seat where you can run lines, a garden where we can have quiet mornings and loud dinner parties. He looked up at her, eyes soft. I'm building our future in my head, while my hands fix the present. She leaned forward, kissing him softly. I love you. I love you too. Now, what else needs fixing? With Lucas's steady presence beside her, Amelia faced each crisis systematically. They rigged a temporary lighting solution using some of Lucas's workshop equipment. He helped rebuild the damaged prompt book, his precise handwriting filling in missing cues. When Daniel's voice gave out completely during rehearsal, Amelia made the bold decision to have him perform the role as if his character had lost his voice, incorporating it into the story. It's actually more powerful this way, the director admitted, watching Daniel convey everything through gesture and expression. Sometimes limitations create beauty. By sunset, the theatre hummed with renewed purpose. The bench was repaired, stronger and more beautiful for its scars. The lighting system, while not perfect, created unexpectedly lovely shadows that enhanced the winter garden theme. The cast had adapted to the changes with creative energy, turning potential disaster into innovative theatre. "Come home with me tonight," Lucas said, as they watched the final rehearsal from the back of the house. "You need real rest, not just a power nap in your office." "I should stay," Amelia started, but he shook his head. "The theatre will survive without you for 8 hours. Trust me, everything looks different after actual sleep." In Lucas's loft above the workshop, Amelia felt tension she didn't even know she was carrying start to melt away. The space smelled like wood and coffee and home. New furniture pieces were scattered around. Prototypes, she realized, for their future home together. "You've been busy," she said, running her hands along a half-finished dining table. "Twice, like I said, I build when I miss you." He guided her away from the work area. "But right now you need sleep." In his bed, wrapped in soft sheets that smelled like him, Amelia finally let herself relax. Lucas held her close, his heartbeat steady under her ear. "Tell me something true," she murmured, already half asleep. "You're the strongest person I know," he said, kissing her forehead. "And it's okay to let someone else be strong for you sometimes. One more truth. I'm going to marry you someday." His voice was soft but certain. "Not now, not when everything's chaos, but someday, when the timing's right. I'm going to build us a life so beautiful it'll make all this stress worth it." Amelia fell asleep with those words echoing in her heart, dreaming of future mornings and shared spaces, and love built to last. She woke early the next day feeling renewed. Lucas was already up, the smell of coffee and fresh sawdust drifting up from the workshop below. On his workbench, she found a small wooden box with a note. "For opening night, something to remind you that beauty can come from chaos. Look inside when you need strength." The box was exquisitely carved with intertwining theatre masks and woodland motifs. Inside, she found a delicate wooden pendant on a silver chain, a perfect miniature of their archway, complete with all the tiny details that told their story. Amelia put it on, the wood warm against her skin, and felt ready to face whatever challenges the day might bring. She had the strength of theatre magic in her blood, and workshop quiet in her heart. And in 2 days, when the curtain rose on opening night, she would have both their worlds on display, his art and her production merging into something greater than either could have created alone. Sometimes the most beautiful stories come from the moments when everything seems to be falling apart. Sometimes love is strongest in the spaces between chaos and calm, in the balance of spotlight and shadow, in the perfect harmony of noise and quiet. "Ready for tech rehearsal?" Lucas called up from the workshop. Amelia touched the pendant and smiled. Ready for anything. The theatre hummed with that peculiar energy unique to opening nights, a mixture of terror and excitement that made the air itself feel electric. Amelia stood in the wings, headset in place, watching the house fill through a gap in the curtain. Her fingers absently traced the wooden pendant at her throat, its smooth surface worn from 2 days of nervous touching. 5 minutes to places," she called into her headset, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. The familiar ritual of pre-show checks grounded her, lights, sound, props, all marking their readiness in her earpiece. "Hey," Tasha appeared beside her, resplendent in a gold dress that complemented her dark skin. "Your woodworker clean up nice." Amelia's heart skipped as she peered through the curtain again. Lucas sat in the front row, looking both uncomfortable and handsome in a charcoal suit. He'd trimmed his beard and attempted to tame his hair, though a rebellious curl still fell over his forehead. More importantly, he was here, despite hating crowds and formal events, because this mattered to her. "Did you give him the envelope?" Amelia asked. "Front row seat, program with your note, and strict instructions not to open it until after the show." Tasha squeezed her friend's shoulder. "Though I still think you're crazy for doing this tonight of all nights." "It feels right," Amelia said softly, touching the pendant again. "Everything feels right." The house lights dimmed, sending a ripple of anticipation through the audience. Amelia took her position at the stage manager's podium, her prompt book open and ready. As the orchestra began the overture, she caught Lucas's eye across the darkness. He smiled, that soft, private smile that still made her knees weak, and touched his chest where a matching wooden pendant lay hidden under his dress shirt. "Lights up on 3, she called into her headset, and go. The show unfolded like a dream. Every crisis and setback from the past weeks seemed to transform into serendipity. Daniel's vocal limitations made his character's emotional journey more powerful. The imperfect lighting created an ethereal atmosphere perfect for the winter garden setting, and Lucas's repaired bench, now positioned center stage, seemed to glow under the lights, its mended parts adding character rather than showing damage. But it was the archway that took everyone's breath away. As the second act opened, revealing Lucas's masterpiece in all its glory, an audible gasp rippled through the audience. The intricate carvings caught the light like living things, the hidden details of their love story woven into every curve and shadow. Amelia felt tears prick her eyes as she watched their private moments play out in public, transformed into art. There, in the twining vines, was their first kiss. There, in the delicate leaves, was the night he asked her to move in. There, in the strong foundation, was every quiet morning and chaotic evening that had brought them to this moment. During intermission, Tasha found her in her office, touching up her makeup. "You okay? You seem different." "I'm perfect," Amelia said, and meant it. Everything's perfect. Even though the lighting board is held together with tape and prayers, even though we had to reblock half the garden scene yesterday, even though, especially because of all that, Amelia turned to her friend. "Remember when you said I was living my own love story now?" "Yeah, I finally understand what you meant. All these imperfections, all these last-minute changes, they're not ruining the show. They're making it real. Just like you and Lucas," Tasha finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. "So speaking of which, that note you gave him..." Amelia's hand went to her pendant again. "Tell me something true." "You're glowing," Tasha said simply, "like you've finally stepped into your own spotlight." The second act moved like a perfect dance, each cue falling exactly where it should, each moment building to something greater than its parts. When Daniel's character finally found his voice in the final scene, a whispered, "I love you," that carried to the back row, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. As the lights faded on the final tableau, Amelia felt something shift in her chest. She had spent so long making other people's stories come to life, but now she was ready for her own. "That's our show," she called into her headset, voice thick with emotion. Thank you, everyone." The audience erupted in applause. Through the curtain, Amelia could see Lucas standing with everyone else, but his eyes weren't on the stage. They were searching the wings for her. In his hand was the now opened envelope, her note clearly visible even from a distance. "Go," Tasha said, taking the headset from her. "I've got this." Amelia moved through the backstage area in a daze, accepting hugs and congratulations but never losing sight of her destination. She emerged into the house just as the audience began to disperse, but Lucas stayed rooted in place, staring at her note. "Tell me something true," she said softly, coming to stand before him. He looked up, his eyes suspiciously bright. "So you want to look at apartments tomorrow?" "I want to look at homes," she corrected, taking his hands in hers. "Real ones, with space for both of us, where you can build our furniture and I can run lines, where quiet and chaos can live together. You're sure?" His thumbs traced circles on her palms. "Even after all this stress, all these challenges?" "Because of them," she said firmly. "For every broken piece we fixed, every boundary we set, every moment we chose each other, it all led here, to us, ready to build something real." Lucas pulled her close, not caring about the few audience members still lingering. "Tell me something true," he whispered against her hair. "I love you, your quiet, your strength, your ability to see beauty in broken things. I love how you've made space for my chaos while helping me find my own kind of peace. One more truth. I want all of it. The workshop mornings and theater nights, the sawdust in my hair and the scripts on our coffee table. I want to build a life that has room for both our worlds." He kissed her then, soft and deep and full of promise. When they parted, he pressed something into her hand, a small wooden key, clearly fresh from his workshop. "I made this during the show," he admitted. "It's not real, obviously, but it's perfect," Amelia finished, understanding what it meant. A symbol, a promise, a beginning. Above them, the work lights came on as the crew began strike, but neither moved. They stood in their own pocket of space and time, holding on to this moment between ending and beginning, between one chapter and the next. "Tell me one last truth," Amelia whispered. Lucas smiled that soft smile she'd first fallen for in a storage room so many weeks ago. We're going to build something beautiful together, and not just furniture. Later that night, after the cast party wound down and the last congratulations were given, they walked hand in hand through Brooklyn's quiet streets. They talked about paint colors and kitchen layouts, about workshop ventilation and theater schedules, about all the little details that would make up their shared life. But mostly they walked in comfortable silence, each holding their wooden tokens, her pendant, his key, and marveling at how sometimes the most beautiful stories come from learning to love both the spotlight and the shadows, both the chaos and the quiet, both the breaking and the mending. After all, like Lucas always said, that's where the real beauty hides. 6 months after opening night, Amelia stood in an empty apartment in Cobble Hill, morning light streaming through tall windows. The space still smelled of fresh paint and possibility. Behind her, Lucas leaned against the doorframe, watching her take it all in. "Tell me something true," she said, turning to face him. "I've already designed half our furniture in my head." He pushed off the doorframe and walked toward her, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. "A built-in bookshelf here," he gestured to one wall. "A window seat there for your script reading. A dining table that can handle both quiet morning coffees and crazy cast parties." Amelia closed her eyes, letting his words paint the picture. "Can I keep going? The second bedroom will make a perfect home office for you. Enough space for all your production binders and emergency costume supplies, and that corner near the big windows. Your workshop space," she finished, opening her eyes to find him right in front of her. "Our space," he corrected softly, "where I can work while you run lines, where you can have your theater chaos while I have my quiet, where we can build our life together." The real estate agent cleared her throat from the hallway, trying to hide her smile. "Should I start the paperwork?" An hour later, they sat at their favorite table in the Carpenter's Cup, signing documents that would make the apartment theirs. Michael brought them special drinks to celebrate. Oat milk latte for Amelia, black coffee for Lucas, both served in wooden cups he'd commissioned from Lucas months ago. "Remember when we first sat here?" Amelia asked, running her finger along the inlay pattern of the table, their table, as she'd come to think of it. "You were trying so hard to be professional," Lucas smiled. "All those production notes and specifications, and you were trying so hard not to mention our storage room kiss. I still think about that kiss." He reached across the table, taking her hand. How one impulsive moment changed everything. Amelia touched her wooden pendant. She rarely took it off now, and thought about all the moments that had led them here, the broken archway that made them stronger, the chaotic opening night that proved they could weather any storm, the quiet mornings and loud evenings that showed them how to balance their different worlds. "I have something for you," Lucas said, pulling a small wooden box from his jacket pocket. Amelia's heart skipped. She recognized his craftsmanship immediately. "Lucas, open it." Inside was a key, a real one this time, not the wooden symbol from opening night, but it was attached to a delicate wooden fob, carved with intertwining theater masks and workshop tools. "It's for the apartment," he explained, "but also for everything else. Every door we'll open together, every space we'll create, every story we'll tell." Amelia felt tears welling up. "Tell me something true." "I want to marry you." His voice was steady, his eyes fixed on hers. "Not because we just bought an apartment, or because it's the next logical step, but because every morning I wake up thinking about building things for you, and every night I go to sleep grateful for the chaos you brought into my quiet life." "Lucas, I'm not proposing. Not officially." He squeezed her hand. "So that'll come later, when I've finished the perfect piece to do it with, something that tells our whole story in wood and love." And she cut him off with a kiss, not caring that they were in public, that the real estate agent was still sorting papers at the next table, that Michael was pretending not to watch from behind the counter. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. "I haven't even asked yet." He laughed softly. "Yes to all of it. To the apartment, to the future proposal, to building a life with you. Yes to finding balance between your quiet and my chaos, between sawdust and spotlight, between breaking and mending." Later that day, they stood in their empty apartment again. Their apartment, officially now. The afternoon light cast long shadows across the hardwood floors, and the city hummed below their windows. Lucas had already started measuring spaces, making notes for the furniture he would build. Amelia had her own notebook out, sketching ideas for color schemes and room layouts. "We should have a housewarming party," she said, already mentally planning the guest list. "Once we have some furniture, Tasha can help me organize it, and we can invite the theater company, and Maria can cater." "And I'll hide in the workshop," Lucas teased. "No," she turned to face him. "You'll be right beside me, showing off your beautiful furniture, letting everyone see how perfectly our worlds fit together." He pulled her close, swaying slightly, as if dancing to music only they could hear. "Tell me something true. I can't wait to fill this place with our story. Your furniture and my scripts, quiet mornings and loud dinners, perfect moments and beautiful messes. One more truth. I fall more in love with you every day, with your steady hands and quiet strength, with how you see beauty in raw materials and broken things, with how you've helped me find my own kind of peace without dimming my spark." Lucas pressed his forehead to hers, their bodies still swaying gently. "Final truth. This is just the beginning," Amelia whispered. "We have so many stories left to tell, so many pieces left to build, so many moments left to create." As the sun set over Brooklyn, casting their empty apartment in golden light, they danced in the space that would soon be their home. No music played except the rhythm of their hearts. No furniture filled the rooms except the pieces in Lucas's imagination. No art adorned the walls except the shadows of the life they would build together. But in that moment, in the space between ending and beginning, between empty and full, between now and forever, they were home. Because home, they had learned, wasn't just a place filled with furniture and memories. Home was the quiet understanding between chaos and calm, the perfect balance of spotlight and shadow, the beautiful harmony of two different worlds becoming one. And as they danced in their empty apartment, holding tight to each other and their dreams, they knew that this love, this life, this story was exactly enough. It was, in fact, perfectly everything. The workshop smelled of fresh sawdust and summer air. Morning light streamed through the large windows Lucas had installed when they renovated the space, catching dust motes that danced like tiny stars. In one corner, Amelia's small desk sat covered in production notes. She was directing her first show next month. In another corner stood Lucas's latest masterpiece, still draped in canvas, waiting for the perfect moment. Their apartment above had become everything they'd dreamed of and more. Every piece of furniture told a story. The dining table that had hosted countless raucous cast parties and quiet morning coffees. The window seat where Amelia ran lines while Lucas sketched designs. The built-in bookshelves that held both theater scripts and woodworking journals. Even their bed was a work of art, with a headboard Lucas had carved to match their original archway, complete with hidden details of their continuing story. Amelia descended the workshop stairs, 2 coffee cups in hand. She wore one of Lucas's old flannel shirts over her rehearsal clothes, her curls piled high in a messy bun. The wooden pendant still hung around her neck, smooth from a year of nervous touches and loving caresses. "You're up early," Lucas said, not looking up from his work. He was making minute adjustments to whatever lay beneath the canvas, his movements precise and focused. "Couldn't sleep." She set his coffee beside him, breathing in the familiar scent of wood and possibility. "Too excited about tonight." Lucas smiled, that same soft smile that still made her heart skip. "Tell me something true." "I already know what you're making under that canvas." Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "And I already know my answer." He finally looked up, surprise and amusement playing across his features. "Do you now?" "Mm-hmm." She perched on his workbench, careful not to disturb his tools. She'd learned that lesson months ago. "I know because I know you, because I know us." Lucas stood, wiping his hands on his apron before moving to stand between her knees. "Tell me something else true. I know it's going to be beautiful, because everything you make is beautiful." She ran her fingers through his beard, now streaked with a bit of grey that made him look even more distinguished. "And I know tonight, at the opening of my first show as director, you're going to find some perfectly quiet moment in all the chaos to show it to me." "You've ruined my surprise," he murmured, but his eyes were soft with love. "No." She touched their foreheads together. "You can never ruin a perfect moment by knowing it's coming. Sometimes the sweetest part is the anticipation." They stayed like that for a moment, sharing breath and dreams in the morning light. Below the workshop, Brooklyn was waking up. Above, their home waited with its perfect blend of chaos and quiet. And here, in this space that had become sacred to them both, their past and future met in an endless present. "One more truth," Lucas whispered. "I'm going to say yes," Amelia smiled. "Tonight, tomorrow, every day for the rest of our lives. Yes to building this life together. Yes to finding beauty in broken things. Yes to loving both the spotlight and the shadows." Lucas kissed her then, soft and deep and full of promise. When they parted, he glanced at the canvas-covered piece. "You really want to wait until tonight?" "Yes." She hopped down from the workbench. Some stories deserve their perfect moment. As she headed upstairs to prepare for rehearsal, Amelia paused at the door. Lucas had returned to his work, his movements sure and steady, his love carved into every piece he created. The morning light caught his profile, and for a moment she saw again that stranger in the storage room who had changed her life with a single kiss. "Tell me something true," she called softly. Lucas looked up, his eyes finding hers across the workshop. "I've been building this piece since the day I met you. Everything I've made, every story we've lived, every moment we've shared, it's all been leading to this. One last truth, this isn't the end of our story," he smiled. "It's just the beginning of our next chapter." Amelia touched her pendant and smiled back, knowing that tonight, when the curtain fell on her first show as director, she would find Lucas waiting in the wings with a canvas-covered masterpiece and a lifetime of love carved into wood and promises, and she would say yes to the ring he'd crafted with his own hands, to the future they would build together, to every quiet morning and chaotic evening that lay ahead. Because sometimes the most beautiful stories don't end. They just keep building, one perfect piece at a time. In Half of Me Still Stays, Amelia and Lucas found the perfect balance between theatre chaos and woodworking quietude, proving that true love isn't about changing who you are, but finding someone who loves all versions of you. In your life, when was the moment you realized you could be entirely yourself in a relationship, without fear of showing your true self? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment your thoughts. Your participation is very important to us. See you next time.